This programme gives you an overview of the issues to consider when revitalising your primary library.
I've got 2 books about sharks!
There are 2 libraries featured in the programme. Bygrove Primary in Tower Hamlets, London has just finished a complete overhaul of their library, and their success shows what can be achieved with planning and investment. Mayflower Primary School, in the same borough, is just about to begin the process, and the head, Lisa Siovic, and teaching assistant Runa Begum are discussing their plans with Jill Harris and Richard Frost from the school's library service.
Nice to see you. You've met Runa.
I mean, one of the first things I want to ask the teacher and the people involved are what their vision for the use of the library is, because we need to create a library that's going to fit what they perceive, their vision.
We previously had a library, but as staff have changed and new people have come on board and there's been a change of management, really the library has been left and nobody's been in charge of it. So when I started here at the school, I decided that we really wanted to work more on making it into a proper library again.
Can you say a bit about how you envisage the library working, who you want to use it, when it would be open, how classes might use it?
We were going to open 1 day a week initially, in school time as well as after school, for parents to come in with their children, and we were going to expand it further depending on how many people were interested.
I mean, we thought rather than start big and then not be able to continue with that, you know, we'd do it 1 day a week and then build it up gradually. The reason why we want to open it after school is that we don't just want the children to get a passion for reading, but actually for parents to realise that, A, that we've got this resource, but also for them to realise that they can read with their own children at home. My vision would be that we could have reading groups for parents, or storytelling for some of the Bangladeshi parents or for some of the Somali parents, so that we don't just use it for children, but actually it's a resource there for the wider community.
Bygrove also made the decision to open after school to encourage parents' involvement.
We're using it at the moment to run ESOL classes where an integral part of the class is for parents to learn how to read with their children in a new language. And those classes take place in the library, and we use the library resources to support them.
There is a lot of information available about how to set up a primary library. You'll find lots of good links on the Teachers TV website. Involving the local school's library service can be very useful, and their expertise will help you get the most out of your budget.
They have a lot of experience setting up libraries in schools around the borough. And so not only did they know the sort of practical bits and pieces about which companies to go to for which bits of furniture, but they were also able to come in and train our school staff. They were able to advise us on which books to buy and where to go and get them. And then they've sort of kept a careful eye on us since we've started to make sure that we've managed to get things set up and going.
Bygrove's library is run by some of the school's teaching assistants.
We've got a rota. There's 2 adults per evening. Put our names up on the rota so the children know who's actually on duty.
Teaching assistant Runa Begum will run the library at Mayflower.
We very fortunately got Runa, who's going to be the person who is going to be in charge of developing the library.
I realised that our kids love to read. I think all kids love to read, and they find a new adventure in every book. Anything to do with reading and knowledge and pictures, it's all exciting to them. So I wanted to be part of something exciting.
If it's going to work well, then the whole staff need to want the library to work. So Runa will be line managed by one of the senior leadership team.
You said before the library fell into disuse because nobody was looking after
That's
it.
Right.
So Runa is the essential key here. What we do at the school's library service is we hold regular meetings for literacy and library post holders and people who are running libraries to meet together at the school's library service, have a cup of tea and look at new resources and discuss ideas.
So the first step would be, I think, for Runa to sort of be exposed to other primary school libraries, just to get an idea of what goes on in other schools.
We're doing that, first of all, in arranging some visits to other libraries for Runa and a training plan for her. I think we were talking about Richard maybe working a half a day a week with Runa for about a term and a half, just to go through all the things it'll mean.
So let's
at what we've got at the moment and we can consider what we've got to do in terms of getting the library set up. So the first thing to do is probably look at the stock. Average school library ought to have 13 books per pupil. So you're a
350 pupils. 50 of those are part-time nursery children.
So what we've got is about 1,500 books, and what we want to do is create a space to accommodate how many books?
About 4,500.
4,500, that's 13 books per pupil. It's 60% non-fiction, 40% 70-30, somewhere in those regions between non-fiction and fiction. So what we can do is if we take the books that you've got here and the books you've got on the shelves, we can maybe draw up a plan over the next 3 years to get the stock up to about 4,500, because obviously it's not something you can buy all in one go.
We've got a huge selection of non-fiction books which give children access to knowledge about subjects they're interested in, and then of course the fiction, which is like a window into an infinite number of imaginary worlds.
What issues might you consider when trying to create the right environment?
It should be exciting but warm at the same time, so it's like a safe place to kind of sit and enter another dimension almost.
I'm having the library painted over the holiday and we're getting blinds up at the window.
I mean, you've also got a nice big space in the middle, which is really great for being able to bring a whole class into. So we can look at various things of some tables and chairs.
One of the things that I really want to do is to have a lunchtime reading for pleasure group, so somewhere that's comfortable and children will want to come and just nestle down and read their favourite books.
There's lots of other things that are in this room that sort of aren't really suitable for a library. So first of all, we've kind of got musical instruments over here. You've got this whole corner taken up.
Rune and I have talked about it and we are going to move those into a room down the corridor.
Just having bright, colourful mats in the middle of the room, it just really livens the whole room up.
I prefer this, I don't know about you, Runa, to these, because I think these are very much more geared towards the younger end, and we actually want the upper key stage 2 to feel that this is a room for them.
As you open the library door, you want to be wowed as you come in, and sort of to have your displays and have all your colour and kind of all the vibrancy at this end of the room as you open that door. It's really got to start outside. All the fun's inside, but you've got to know where to come in the first place.
Right. We could run competitions about bookmarks and book reviews starting outside, and then that would initially get the idea going in the classrooms and in the playground about, oh, what's happening to our library, let's do something new.
I had one really good idea once where each class had to donate something to the library, which stayed in there permanently, and it just kind of gave ownership to the children and to each class, so that they felt a real part of the library, and I think that's quite important.
I made that.
Bygrove invested in some new shelving. What are Mayflower's requirements?
Because the shelving's actually quite solid, it's quite good shelving, so I presume this can stay.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, Runa was thinking that the dividers aren't very solid, so we were wanting you to give us some advice on those, because though they look quite attractive, actually they're not very stable. So I know you brought some catalogues, so perhaps we could look at those now.
I think in terms of making sure the library holds enough shelving for the book stock over the years, we're going to have a few units of shelving sticking out slightly into the room, maybe one bay, a couple of bays either end, and still leave the main space in the centre.
I think the other thing we also need is some kind of display, perhaps looking at some display units, these sort of face-on ones, or somehow using the shelves of what we've got. But imagine we're going to fill up all the shelves with all these new books we're going to buy.
One the most important things is when the children come into the room, the signs and the guiding. At the moment, I mean, the big letters over there are great, and the wall index, it's good. It's in Bengali, which is great, but it's a bit old. That, for example, isn't the Victorians or the Tudors aren't listed under the T's and V's.
That's probably because it was up there before the Victorians.
This is what we've got from the PGC.
Yes, so we need to make sure we've got space for that. This tells, for example, if they want ancient Egypt 932, but what the shelves need to say is where the 900s are.
It needs to be colour-coded for the younger ones, but the older ones, we want them to use more sophisticated skills and start using classification skills.
Bygrove are using a computer catalogue to keep track of their books. Should Mayflower do the same thing?
Were you thinking of putting a computer system into the library to manage the stock?
Well, we'd like your advice on that, because we've had varying bits of advice. Some people say that it's a very effective way, whereas other people think that actually the school's too small to have a computer system to work effectively.
There's a lot of pros and cons about installing a library computer system. Get a good management system. They tend to be able to do lots of other things like being able to do book reviews. Place them on the system so other children can read reviews. You can find lots of stock information. So the initial cost of the software, so you're looking at probably at least £1,000 or more initially, whereas you need investment in books. It's also the time in cataloguing, or if you're just looking at Runa doing it, she'll be sat in here for weeks, just literally cataloguing books non-stop. So you really have to weigh up the two.
In the long term, having a computer system, a lot of libraries, a lot of primary school libraries going down that route. I think in terms of, you need to look at your budget and decide which is, and I think the priority probably is to get it open, running, children using it, and as Runa says, the exciting, welcoming space that you want. I think it's worth, if we can cost out for you how much it will cost to put a computer system in, then maybe you could build that into future budgets.
So what is the next step for Mayflower?
We'll do an action plan in the steps to get this library up to speed, looking at the stock, looking at the shelving, what furnitures to buy, and suggested things like that. A stock plan, so you want to a stock purchase plan for the next sort of 2 or 3 years to get you up to stock. And then we'll also cost out how much it would actually cost to put in a computer system, so you can bear that in mind for future budgets as well.
We're very excited about our new stock.
So what are some of the key points to remember? Get advice from the experts, from the school's library service if possible. Create a clear vision of how you want to use the library. Carefully consider your staffing options and arrange for training. Work out what stock you need, how to budget for it, and catalogue it. Think about the atmosphere you want to create with decoration and furniture. Get proper shelving with plenty of room for display. Make sure your signage is clear and get everyone involved.
I like that there's more books, like we got all the Harry Potter books. It looks really nice, and just walk in and you feel welcome in here.